Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. Although the Polish presidential race hasn't officially begun, pre-campaigning is in full swing. Our guest was Polish presidential candidate Karol Nawrocki. The president of the Institute of National Remembrance explained why he is running in this election and briefly outlined how he envisages his presidency.
Karol Nawrocki, Citizens' presidential candidate with the endorsement of the Law and Justice Party, has launched his pre-election campaign in Poland. As a start, he visited our station. My candidacy is motivated by my love for Poland, by feelings of responsibility toward Poland, but also as an expression of concern about the state of our republic today. Karol Nawrocki will be facing off against the representative of the Civic Coalition, Rafał Trzaskowski. Their contrast could be clear. Trzaskowski, vice president of the Civic Coalition, has made a name for himself by supporting LGBT organizations as Warsaw's mayor and removing crosses from government buildings in the capital. Nawrocki, president of the Institute of National Remembrance, emphasizes traditional values.
Bezpieczeństwo Polaków jest dla mnie ważne.
The security of the Polish people is of utmost importance. I'm also concerned with Poland's sovereignty within EU structures. For the past year, the ruling Civic Coalition government has been undermining whatever institutions it doesn't control. The government is making huge cuts to the budgets of the Institute of National Remembrance and the Constitutional Court, among others. According to Karol Nawrocki, only a fully independent president will be able to cut this Gordian knot.
To jest bardzo niepokojąca tendencja.
This is a very disturbing trend, which certainly cannot be solved by someone who is the deputy leader of a political party. This is a task for a citizens' president who sees this chaos and is able to take up this challenge. Poland, under the Law and Justice government, invested in huge infrastructure projects, thanks to which our country could count on rapid development.
W kategoriach cywilizacyjnych, właściwie za sprawą Centralnego Portu Komunikacyjnego.
In terms of civilizational development, with the central communication port and the network of connections, also in rural Poland, we can achieve the final unification of the Polish state. Prime Minister Tusk's team is doing everything to make sure that the central communication port never comes into existence, or if it does, then in an atrophied form. Rafał Trzaskowski, deputy leader of the Civic Platform, and today its presidential candidate, has been arguing for years that the central communication port is unnecessary. I think this is gigantomania, especially since we will have an airport in Berlin in 2 years. This illustrates the deep feelings of national inferiority pervasive among certain political groupings in Poland, particularly when contrasted with Western. There is a belief that Poland does not deserve these kinds of investments. Today, we need stubborn visionaries who will say that we want to be the biggest economy in Europe. We want to have the biggest airport in Europe because the Polish people deserve it. The president is also responsible for foreign policy. This is especially important now, given the Russian menace and the war in Ukraine. A golden balance will be crucial in this matter between continuing to support Ukraine and fighting for Polish interests. May God grant Ukraine victory in the war with Russia. We, however, are Poles and have Polish responsibilities. There are issues where we have to represent Polish national interests in bilateral relations with the Ukrainian state, such as the issue of grain transport or exhumations in Volhynia. If I had to choose between the feelings of Ukraine or the national interest of the Polish state, for me, the interest of the Polish state is more important. The presidential elections will be held next May. The exact date is not yet known. It also remains an open question how many candidates will register in the end. Anyone who wants to run for the highest office in Poland must collect 100,000 signatures.
Special prosecutor Jack Smith has dropped 2 federal criminal cases against Donald Trump, one involving incitement to storm the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. Meanwhile, the president-elect is announcing more decisions by his administration, including imposing tariffs on goods imported from Mexico, Canada and China. The president-elect blames these countries for the migrant crisis and the rise of drug addiction in the United States. Could Trump be marking the beginning of a trade war? It's already a real epidemic in the United States. A drug called fentanyl or zombie kills more people each year than there were American casualties during the entire Vietnam War.
I don't know if it's because we're closer to the border, but drugs has these communities tore up.
The war on drugs gangs was one of Donald Trump's main election promises, as was the fight against illegal migration. After winning the election, the president-elect has announced he will impose tariffs of 25% on Mexico and Canada if they don't change their existing policies. As everyone knows, thousands of people are pouring in from Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs on a scale never seen before. Right now, the caravan coming from Mexico, consisting of thousands of people, seems unstoppable in its quest to cross our open border. China, which produces the ingredients for the zombie drug, is also on the target list of the new administration. Donald Trump wants to impose tariffs of 10% on goods from the Middle Kingdom. Beijing, for now, is announcing attempts to seek an agreement with Washington. China is willing to work with the new United States administration to ensure communication, expand cooperation, and discuss differences so as to ensure a stable transition in the two nations' relationship. Is Trump's decision the beginning of a trade war? In the case of the United States' closest neighbors, experts are doubtful, adding that it is more a desire to quickly fulfill an election promise. Nearly 2 months before he takes office, there is already great excitement at government levels in Canada as well as Mexico, and already leaders from countries there are wondering what they should do to prevent Trump from imposing tariffs. Trump may also negotiate hard with European countries. He has already blamed France and Germany for not investing enough in defense. If Europe doesn't change its policy quickly, it could face painful changes. Europe will have to take into account changes in the style of politics and the fact that the time of the US and Europe speaking together, speaking with one voice, is over, and a period of such real competition has begun. Donald Trump has announced that he will lift the announced tariffs only if countries help him to fight drug gangs and curb illegal migrants. The largest US retail chain, Walmart, is joining companies significantly restricting support for gender ideology and the so-called woke culture. According to company executives, books and erotic gadgets promoting trans or queer communities are to disappear from supermarket shelves. Interestingly, Walmart is another United States giant that has been pulling back from supporting this ideology in recent months.
First and foremost, it's about children. That's been the main goal of activists who have been fighting the far-left environment in the US for many years by exposing the woke policies of major corporations.
Story.
Walmart, a US retail chain with an annual turnover of $800 billion, appeared on this list. One of the leading activists in the anti-woke movement, Robbie Starbuck, has threatened to make public the company's sexualization practices, which could discredit it. Walmart, however, agreed to negotiate.
Bullet point number 1, Walmart will be removing all inappropriate sexual and/or transgender products that are marketed toward kids, things like chest binders for teenagers or books that encourage transitioning. That is all going to be gone. Bullet point number 2, Walmart is going to review and stop funding to all events that could be sexually inappropriate for kids. That includes drag queen story time or pride events that expose kids to sexually inappropriate topics. That's all going to stop going forward.
The retail chain says the announced changes are not the result of activist efforts, but, surprisingly, coincide with the upcoming swearing-in of Donald Trump as president. Donald Trump has made it clear in his campaign, but also by the first decisions that are emerging in his upcoming administration, that he will not be supporting gender ideology. Thus, it could be a matter of concern about a possible clash with the new federal authorities in the Oval Office, when the White House is taken over by Trump. However, it could also be a matter of simple financial estimates of the owners of the retail chain. At the same time, decisions are also being made at the administration level that could translate into changes in the government's promotion of this ideology. Pentagon Chief Nominee Pete Hegseth is one of the biggest critics of the presence of transgender-identifying people in the U.S. military.
If confirmed, there are concerns that Hegseth might choose to undo some of the gains that women have made in combat roles, and more broadly, take on the diversity, equity, and inclusion gains that the department has rolled out in the last 4 years.
The use of women's restrooms on Capitol Hill by men who identify as women has also been in the news in recent weeks. The position of the Republican Speaker of the House was unequivocal.
For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe...
What are the chances that a similar political and social awakening will reach Europe? According to experts, it is very high, but it may be due to completely different circumstances. You also have to look at the demographics in Europe. The increasing population of people where Islam is the dominant religion, and this type of activity in Islam is clearly forbidden. So, we're about to have a double clash here. And so, paradoxically, Europe's openness and tolerance may end up becoming its downfall.
According to all predictions, the market for humanoid robots will explode in the coming years, with companies competing to be the first to bring a functional android into our daily lives. At the Humanoid Robotics Conference in Nancy, France, more than 30 companies and research institutions from around the world presented their latest robots. The combination of artificial intelligence and engineering has contributed significantly to recent advances in robotics.
In the last year, there has been a revolution in the actuation and in some mechatronics components, and so the robots now are more robust, more efficient, more performing, and also the cost has decreased, which enables more companies, more labs to produce new prototypes.
With artificial intelligence that processes images and language, people will get robots that can understand their instructions and then translate them into action. But Professor Agnieszka Wikowska of the Italian Institute of Technology warns that this will not happen in the near future.
The limits in terms of intelligence, well, I guess at this moment is what I just mentioned, is being naturally in real time able to respond to the environment, to the human, and act in complex environments like home, for example, or clinical setting like where we are. So I think this is still a big challenge, and we're very far away from making robots fully autonomous to be able to interact with humans in such a way.
Robots, with their efficiency, precision, and ability to process large data sets, can support humans in complex projects. However, the introduction of these advanced technologies carries both a number of benefits and potential risks.
Piece of technology that are there to improve our lives, make our lives easier, better, healthier. And I only see the positive side, but I'm aware that there are people that can also misuse the technology, but it's always the same thing. In every object that you have in your life, you can also find a way to misuse it. If you have a hammer, you can nail, you can use it to repair a box, something, but you can also use it to hurt somebody.
Major technology companies are already investing billions in implementing artificial intelligence and robotics. Elon Musk predicts that by 2040, there will be at least 10 million humanoid robots, with prices ranging from $20,000 to $25,000. That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, have a good night and a better tomorrow.